Manchester United are entering one of the most chaotic moments of the season. A summer signing could already be leaving, 6 players are on the chopping block, and the club is battling Real Madrid for a £53 million midfield star. Plus, shocking scenes as players were reportedly punched by their own fans. If you want the real truth behind what's happening at United, don't blink. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. This is a story you can't afford to miss. Manchester United ready to greenlight 3 transfer exits for young stars, including summer signing. Manchester United want to hand some young stars the opportunity to go and thrive elsewhere from January, with few opportunities under Ruben Amorim without European football. Manchester United are set to allow 3 youngsters to head out on loan in January. Diego Leon, Aiden Heaven, and Cheetah Obi are all said to be available for temporary moves next month as transfer talk heats up. United could be active in the winter window as they prepare to lose players to the Africa Cup of Nations, with the likes of Brian Mbeumo, Noussair Mazraoui, and Ahmad all set to depart. But while the Red Devils could be poised to lean on their academy in the wake of players heading off mid-season, the likes of Heaven, Leon, and Obi could still head out. The young trio have struggled for opportunities under Ruben Amorim this term and are now set to continue their development elsewhere for the short term, per reports. Leon, 18, arrived at the club in the summer but had big ambitions after leaving Cerro Porteño. The young fullback has not yet appeared in a competitive fixture for the first team and is being linked with a move to Nice, who would offer him the chance to gain valuable first-team experience for 6 months. I'm really happy. I think every player dreams of this. When you're a professional, you have to adapt quickly. It is a massive opportunity. Everyone thinks I'll go out on loan, but I don't have that mindset. I'm going to kill it in preseason, and within 1 or 2 games, I'll already be playing with him. Heaven has enjoyed more first-team action since joining from Arsenal, but his situation is also likely to be assessed. The 19-year-old has shown promise, but has only earned 158 minutes on the pitch this term. Forward Obi, who also joined from Arsenal, broke into United's first-team plans last season after dominant displays in the youth ranks. Amorim has since admitted he introduced the striker at an inappropriate time. Obi has been required to settle with the club's under-21s this term, having made 8 appearances under Amorim last season. The striker has not appeared since the final day game against Fulham. Amorim believes he did not foster the correct environment for Obi to thrive last term. He played last year, but I think it was too soon. We didn't have a team we could put a young kid of 16 into and him not struggle. He's one of the guys, but he started too soon. Sometimes it's hard to deal with that, with the kids, because they think that I'm already here. We need to be careful with that.
Man Utd rival Real Madrid for £53 million signing as Ruben Amorim agrees to sell flop. Manchester United will hope to build on a promising spell for the club when the January transfer window opens in less than a month's time. The likes of Arsenal, Manchester City, and Chelsea will look to make the final tweaks to what they hope will prove to be title-winning squads, but United's ambitions are a little different. While the title challenge is still beyond a Red Devils team that finished 15th last season, signs of progress means European football is well within reach. It appeared only a matter of time before Ruben Amorim would be sacked following a difficult start to the season, but United have vastly improved since the October international break. Just 1 defeat in their last 7 games has seen Amorim's side climb to 7th in the table, just 3 points outside the Champions League places. Manchester United spent a little over £200 million last summer, signing 3 attackers, Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, and Benjamin Sesko, as well as goalkeeper Sene Lammens. It is unlikely that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will sanction any huge deals in January, but Amorim will be keen to bolster his squad and offload any unwanted stars should the opportunity present itself. Man Utd target Frankfurt fullback. A number of midfielders have been linked with moves to Old Trafford since the summer transfer window closed, and it is true that Amorim wants to strengthen in that area of the pitch. Brighton's Carlos Baleba, Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, Nottingham Forest's Elian Anderson, and Atletico Madrid's Conor Gallagher appear to be the front-runners for that position. But Amorim has also stressed the need for talented wingbacks for his favored 3-4-3 system and recently seemed to question the long-term viability of current options Patrick Dorgu and Diogo Dalot. According to Florian Plettenberg, Manchester United have now joined Real Madrid and Barcelona in showing interest in Eintracht Frankfurt left-back Nathaniel Brown. Germany international Brown, 22, has been scouted by Real Madrid on multiple occasions this season and is valued at around £50 million. Known for his attacking runs and crossing ability, Brown earned his first full international cap in October and looks set to be part of Julian Nagelsmann's Germany squad at next summer's World Cup. Onana's Man United chapter closed and Man U off too. It has been a difficult few days for Manchester United goalkeeper Onana, who was left out of Cameroon's squad for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations. United spent $47.2 million to sign Onana from Inter Milan in 2023 and had high hopes for a shot-stopper who has just played in a Champions League final. But the 29-year-old made a number of mistakes and generally struggled before being dropped at the start of the season and eventually loaned out to Trabzonspor. Onana is said to return to Old Trafford in June, but Fabrizio Romano says the decision has already been made to move him on at that point, with his chapter at the club considered closed. United have made that call partly due to Onana's struggles, but more pertinently because of the bright impact Sané Lammens has had since his £20 million summer move from Belgium. The former Royal Antwerp star has attracted praise from a number of Manchester United legends, including Sir Alex Ferguson and Rio Ferdinand. While Onana will be moved on next summer, Kobbie Mainoo is pushing to leave Manchester United on loan in January. Mainoo, once viewed as the most exciting player at Old Trafford, has slipped down the pecking order since Amorim replaced Erik ten Hag last November. A lack of minutes led Mainoo to ask for a loan move last summer, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe was keen to keep the United Academy graduate at the club. Ratcliffe is unlikely to be able to convince Man U to stay this time around. However, with the 20-year-old desperately frustrated having yet to start a league game this season, Man U knows he needs more game time to salvage any hopes he has of being included in England's World Cup squad, and fortunately has attracted interest from a number of clubs. Serie A champions Naples appear to be leading the race to sign Man U, with reports in Italy claiming talks have already begun between the two parties. Man U is said to be keen on a move to Naples, where he would reunite with former Manchester United stars Rasmus Højlund and Scott McTominay and play under ex-Chelsea boss Antonio Conte. Midfielder to be signed as Atletico set Gallagher price. Despite being satisfied with the club's transfer dealings last summer, Amorim was frustrated not to sign a new central midfielder. Reservations over Man U, an aging Casemiro, and an unconvincing Manuel Ugarte means a new midfielder will be United's next big signing. United are yet to choose between Baleba, Wharton, Anderson, or Gallagher, though Paul Scholes has already urged his former club to opt for the Crystal Palace star. Undoubtedly, the cheapest option would be Gallagher, who has struggled for regular starts under Diego Simeone since joining Atletico Madrid from Chelsea in 2024. Gallagher, who United inquired about last summer, recently admitted he was frustrated with his game time at Atletico, though he insisted he was still happy at the club and determined to make a success of his Madrid career. While Atletico have not put Gallagher up for sale, reports say they are open to a January deal for a price of around €30 million, or £26 million. That represents a far cheaper price than Baleba, Wharton, or Anderson will go for, and ex-United star Paul Parker has endorsed a bid for Gallagher. He's the one player I think they need. One player who plays a lot of football, doesn't get injured often, and is willing to play. I've watched him many a times when he was at Palace and when he was at Chelsea, and every time you see him grimacing, the lad wants to play games of football. If he doesn't play, it's a good reason. Even if he's had a knock, he wants to play football. And I know that if he comes to Manchester United, that would be the cherry on the top. While Amorim has one eye on the January transfer window, his immediate focus is on Thursday's Premier League clash against struggling West Ham. United came from behind to beat Crystal Palace 2-1 at Selhurst Park on Sunday and are now preparing to face a Hams team sitting 17th in the Premier League.
Chaos at Sir Jim Ratcliffe's club as players put on leave after being punched by own fans. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Nice are in a worrying crisis with two of the French club's players placed on leave after being attacked by their own supporters. Nice, owned by Manchester United co-owners Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos, saw their return to training after defeat to Lorient descend into chaos, with players who were attacked by supporters taking legal action.
After a seventh consecutive defeat, frustration from fans boiled over, which resulted in Jeremy Boga and Tarim Maffi being assaulted. Neither will train this week, with Boga placed on leave for 5 days following the attack, while Maffi will be out of action until Sunday. According to a report by Tribuna, the duo were punched, kicked, and spat on. It has also been alleged that racist slurs were thrown their way, with Boga needing to be rescued by Yvonne Diouf. Nice were informed a hostile reception was waiting for the team bus at their training ground. Nonetheless, they still opted to return, with 2 fan representatives initially allowed onto the bus to air their grievances at the club's recent struggles. However, things went sour very quickly as Boga and Maffi took the brunt. It has been reported that the reason for Boga being targeted was because Marseille fans were invited to their stadium earlier this month by him, with it alleged they mocked home supporters. As for Maffi, it has been claimed he was laughing with former Lorient present Louis Graemy after the defeat on the weekend. Boga released a statement on the controversy surrounding his decision. It read, "At no time, believe me, was it my intention to show disrespect toward Nice supporters. However, I understand the disappointment this may have caused. To all those I may have hurt, I offer my apologies." Nice opted to not comment considering the ongoing police investigation, but did release a club statement after the incident. On Sunday, upon their return from Lorient, the Eagles were welcomed in front of the Training and Development Center by a large gathering. The club understands the frustration generated by the succession of poor performances and performances far removed from its values. However, the incidents that occurred during this gathering are unacceptable. Several club members were targeted. OGC Nice offers them its full support and condemns these acts in the strongest possible terms. Nice currently sit 10th in Ligue 1 and are rock bottom of the Europa League standings, have lost all 5 games. Following their best finish in 7 years last season, Ratcliffe's club are seriously struggling. For both Manchester United and Nice to compete in the Europa League during the 2024-25 campaign, Ratcliffe took a back seat at the French club, with UEFA rules clear on multi-club ownerships competing in the same competition. Ineos explored a sale in the summer, with Saudi Arabia investors showing a potential interest, but nothing materialized.
Manchester United monitoring 19-year-old Rodri-style midfielder after impressing in Italy. Manchester United are reported to be one of many clubs keeping tabs on a young defensive midfielder who has impressed for his U23 side in Italy this season. Manchester United's midfield has been a controversial topic amongst fans for the past couple of seasons, with who should play and where the main talking points. So far this season, Ruben Amorim has opted for a more experienced midfield partnership of Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. Choosing the more experienced route has sidelined younger players. Kobbie Mainoo and Manuel Ugarte are 2 who have really felt the impact of this, usually being subbed on within the last 15 minutes of games, but sometimes making no appearance at all. Kobbie Mainoo, especially, is a player that fans will be desperate to succeed, having graduated through the club's academy and impressing when he was thrust into the squad back in 2023. However, the 20-year-old has not impressed for Amorim so far and has not been utilized by the Portuguese coach. This has led the club to look beyond their current options, and players like Adam Wharton have impressed fans, but Crystal Palace could easily demand a high price for the England international. Scouts across Europe may have found a younger, cheaper option who has impressed for his U23 side by adopting a playing style similar to that of a Ballon d'Or winner. Atalanta's Sergej Levek attracts attention from United scouts. According to Calcio Mercato, Croatian midfielder Sergej Levek has attracted interest from multiple clubs, including United, after playing a key role for Atalanta's U23 side, which plays in Serie A. It has been reported that United scouts have been sent to watch the 19-year-old in person to understand the player better. Levek arrived at Atalanta following the expiration of his contract with AS Roma, and at the time Inter Milan was also trying to secure his signature. He is featured in the starting lineup in the side's last 10 games and has been described as too good for the youth side by the Italian outlet. Being described as a Rodri-style midfielder, it is no wonder that he has caught the eye of many clubs recently. Also, bagging 3 goals this season shows the youngster's intelligence in knowing when to arrive in the box. La Dia has not commented on the rumors, but if they persist, I'm sure the Italian side will have to address them.
This would be another signing that shows Ineos is taking their transfer policy seriously, and perhaps they are thinking about a future replacement for the aging Casemiro. However, nothing is concrete, and if Ugarte and Manu begin to perform, an external replacement may not be required. Where would this signing leave Ugarte and Manu? United fans in general want to see Amorim utilize Manu more, as his brief cameo appearances towards the end of matches are not benefiting his development. Ugarte is a different case, as he has shown fans and Amorim that he has not settled into life in the Premier League, so he will have to build trust by making his mark if he gets the chance. However, a new arrival could go one of two ways. Either the pair are motivated by it, or both push for moves away from the club. Manu has already been linked to a loan move away from United as soon as the January transfer window, and Ugarte would surely push for the same due to his lack of minutes. Amorim needs to make his plans clear and show players and fans whether he will pursue external signings or stick with the players he already has at his disposal. If Ugarte and Manu were to exit the club, it would likely be for a smaller fee than what was expected of them when they were both at their peak. This would leave a bitter taste in fans' mouths, as it would seem like a huge amount of wasted potential.
6 players could leave Manchester United in the January transfer window. Man United lost 4-1 against Anderlecht in the Premier League International Cup at Leigh Sports Village on Tuesday night. Manchester United under-21s rocked up to Leigh Sports Village on Tuesday night with high-profile academy names Shea Lacey, Chido Obi, Sekou Kone, and Diego Leon missing from the squad. The question now is what happens to those players in the January transfer window. Obi has not made a first-team squad this season. Lacey was on the bench for successive Premier League games against Everton and Crystal Palace, and Diego Leon and Sekou Kone are in between the U21s and senior side. The early expectation is Lacey and Obi will be kept in the building, but loan offers will be considered for Leon and Kone, who would benefit from playing senior football in the second half of the campaign. There are other candidates for a loan who started against Anderlecht on Tuesday night in the Premier League International Cup, such as Jacob Devaney, Gabriele Biancheri, Jace Fitzgerald, and James Stanlin. That would take the potential loan departures to 6. The selection process at United ahead of the winter window involves evaluating players who may have stagnated in academy football and determining whether a change of scenery would be beneficial. Devaney, who captained the U21s from the base of the midfield on Tuesday, has delivered consistently strong performances this season and excelled for Ireland's U21s against England during the November international break, emerging with credit against the likes of Joe Bellingham, Ethan Nwaneri, and Lewis Hall. That display suggested he could rise to the challenge of a loan spell further down the English football pyramid. Biancheri would also benefit from a spell away because he isn't getting much from U21 football. He had the thankless task of leading the attack against Anderlecht and looked understandably frustrated as he drifted throughout the first half with no service up front. The Welshman has trained with the senior national teams of Wales and Canada. He's eligible to represent both, experience which would stand him in good stead if he leaves on loan. Scanlon was born in the Midlands but represents Gibraltar on the international stage, and he scored a brilliant goal against the Faroe Islands in a World Cup qualifier last summer. He is another who should be considered for a loan, along with Fitzgerald, who has slightly plateaued after being named in senior squads against Chelsea and PAOK last season. Scanlon and Biancheri offered little in the final third in the first half against Anderlecht, but United struggled as a collective, conceding multiple chances against an aggressive Belgian side. U21 manager Travis Binion pleaded with his side to keep the ball after spells of Anderlecht pressure, encouraging the youngsters to give themselves a breather and a foothold in the contest. It was communicated ahead of the fixture that Binion would not be permitted to speak to the handful of local reporters who made the trip to Leigh Sports Village. That is not on Binion, who has always been hugely generous with his time, but instead a strange decision from the club. United didn't keep the ball much in a disappointing first half, but they were ahead at the interval, taking the lead on the stroke of halftime thanks to a powerful header from Devaney. The Anderlecht coach, dressed in a Winter Olympics-esque tracksuit, could not believe his side had fallen behind, given his side had squandered 4 great chances, and their wastefulness was punished. They were deservedly level just minutes into the second half when forward Enzo Sternal pounced on a spilt shot and equalized. The Anderlecht staff celebrated as if it were a goal in the World Cup final.
Terry Van de Ven fired the visitors into a 2-1 lead shortly afterwards. More exaggerated celebrations followed, and Binion shook his head on the touchline. Then Anderlecht scored a third goal, and then a fourth. What Binion will learn from the game is up for debate. There are conversations ongoing about which players will leave on loan, and brain power should be put into arranging spells away in the January window. It's easier said than done to find an appropriate loan for academy players, especially in the winter window, but there are at least 6 players who won't gain much from continuing to play youth games. It will be fascinating to see which academy players have left by the end of January.